In the 1880s, France attempted one of the most ambitious engineering projects in history. They wanted to build the Panama Canal, a BD shortcut connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The project was led by the famous engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps, the man behind the Suez Canal. The real enemy was smaller than anyone imagined. Deadly diseases like yellow fever and malaria, spread by mosquitoes, tore through the workforce. By the time the project collapsed, more than 20,000 workers had died. The company went bankrupt, triggering the massive Panama Canal scandal. Years later, the United States took over the project and finally finished the canal. Sometimes the smallest enemy can destroy the biggest plans. In 1928, a messy lab changed the future of medicine. Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming returned from a short break to find one of his bacteria cultures contaminated with mold. Most scientists would have thrown it away, but Fleming noticed something strange. The mold was killing the bacteria around it. That accidental discovery became penicillin, the world's first true antibiotic. Within years, it transformed medicine and helped save millions of lives. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs start with a mistake. High in the Andes Mountains, there is a bridge made entirely of grass. It's called the Cueshuachaca Bridge. Engineers of the Inca civilization discovered something simple but powerful. One blade of grass is weak, but thousands braided together can hold enormous weight. Every year, local communities cut down the old bridge and rebuild a brand new one. Using nothing but woven grass ropes, they create a 118-foot suspension bridge in just 3 days. For centuries, this tradition has continued, making Cueshuachaca the last surviving Inca rope bridge still rebuilt the ancient way. In 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the United States for just $7.2 million. At the time, many Americans mocked the deal. They called it Seward's Folly, a frozen wasteland of ice and snow. But history had other plans. Decades later, massive gold deposits were discovered across Alaska and nearby Yukon. Then came something even bigger: oil. Huge oil reserves turned Alaska into one of the most resource-rich regions in North America. What once looked like a ridiculous purchase became one of the most profitable land deals in modern history. Sometimes the biggest fortunes are hiding in places nobody believes in. You might think fast food is a modern invention, but the ancient Romans were eating it 2,000 years ago. Many Romans lived in tiny apartments that didn't even have kitchens, which meant cooking at home wasn't possible for most people. Instead, they bought hot meals from street stalls called thermopolia, stone counters, with large jars that kept food warm. Throughout the day, people could quickly grab lentils, bread, cheese, stews, and spiced wine. Cheap, fast meals for life on the streets of ancient Rome. The billionaire Marcus Licinius Crassus created Rome's first private fire brigade. When a building caught fire, he arrived with 500 men, not to help, but to negotiate. He would offer to buy the burning property for almost nothing. If the owner refused, his men stood back and let it burn. If they agreed, the flames were extinguished immediately. That's how Crassus built a real estate empire and became the richest man in Rome. Greed didn't start in modern times. It was already burning 2,000 years ago. Before gunpowder, ancient armies weaponized nature itself. During sieges, defenders hurled beehives over city walls, unleashing swarms on attackers below. In naval battles, clay pots filled with scorpions, and even venomous snakes, were smashed onto enemy decks to cause panic. Sometimes you don't defeat the enemy by force. You just make them run. In 193 AD, the Roman Empire was put up for sale. After the Praetorian Guard murdered Emperor Pertinax, they asked who would pay the most to rule Rome. A wealthy senator named Didius Julianus won the throne by promising each soldier a massive payout. He ruled for just 66 days, before another general marched on Rome and had him executed. Money can buy power, but not loyalty. In 1915, German forces attacked Oswiec Fortress with chlorine gas, expecting total annihilation. Instead, a small group of surviving Russian soldiers burned, choking and barely able to stand, launched a counterattack with fixed bayonets. Shocked by the sight of men who should have been dead still advancing, the German assault faltered and retreated. It became known as the Attack of the Dead Men. The Byzantine Empire had a secret weapon so terrifying it could burn even on water. It was called Greek fire. Using bronze siphons, they sprayed a flaming liquid onto enemy ships, and it kept burning across the sea. The formula was a state secret. When the empire fell, it disappeared with them. Historians believe it may have contained petroleum and quicklime, chemicals that could react violently with water. We can make similar weapons today, but the original recipe? Still lost to history. 3,000 years ago, the Bronze Age world collapsed. Powerful kingdoms fell, trade networks shattered, cities burned. Egyptian records blame mysterious raiders called the Sea Peoples. They attacked from the sea, striking across the eastern Mediterranean. But here's the twist. They probably weren't the only cause. Drought, famine, rebellion, and economic collapse were already tearing the region apart. The Sea Peoples may not have destroyed the world. They may have arrived just as it was already breaking. Sometimes history doesn't fall. It unravels. Archaeologists have found over 100 strange bronze objects across the Roman Empire, and no one knows what they were used for. They date back to the 2nd or 3rd century AD, but there's no mention of them in Roman texts. No drawings, no instructions, not even a name. They're called Roman dodecahedrons, 12-sided, hollow objects with holes of different sizes. Theories range from measuring tools and religious artifacts to glove-knitting devices. 2,000 years later, we still don't know. Some mysteries survive empires. In the Middle Ages, animals could be put on trial like humans. In 1457, in France, a sow was arrested and brought before a human court for killing a child. The animal was assigned a defense lawyer. Witnesses were called. Evidence was presented. The court found the pig guilty, and it was publicly executed. This wasn't a joke. Medieval courts sometimes treated animals as moral agents under the law. History isn't just dramatic. It's deeply strange. How did the Vikings cross the Atlantic without a compass or map? They may have used a magic sunstone. It was likely Iceland spar, a type of calcite crystal. Even on cloudy days, it can detect the sun's position by filtering polarized light in the sky. Experiments show this could have helped. Viking sailors navigate with surprising accuracy. Centuries before Columbus was born, ancient problems, ancient technology, incredibly advanced thinking.